It began with a noise no one could ignore, a strange hum in the air that seemed to shake the very atmosphere of Earth. People looked up to the sky as dark shapes appeared out of nowhere, massive ships covered in jagged metal with lights flashing in every direction. They hovered silently above the clouds, and as they came closer their size became impossible to comprehend. Cities around the world went silent. As the world held its breath, the ships made no effort to land. They simply stayed there, suspended above every major city at once. Every nation scrambled to understand what was happening. Satellites scrambled to get images, and communications were flooded with frantic messages. People gathered in the streets, staring upward, filled with a strange mix of awe and terror. The aliens did not speak yet, but their presence alone was enough to paralyze the planet. Earth had never faced anything like this before. Then the voice came, not from any one ship, but from every screen across the globe. The voice was deep, smooth, almost metallic, and it echoed through radios, televisions, computers, every single device on the planet. It was the same message repeated in every language on Earth. There was no translation needed. This voice was clear in every tongue. People of Earth, we come as your conquerors. Your world will now be ours. Prepare for surrender. Your fate is sealed. For a moment, there was silence, the kind of silence that hangs in the air. When something monumental happens, people didn't know how to react. They couldn't even grasp the gravity of it. What were these beings? How had they come to Earth? And why had they chosen this moment in history to make their move? Questions swirled in every mind around the globe, but no answers came. The aliens had made their demands, but not their reasoning. In the moments that followed, panic started to spread. Governments raced to respond. World leaders gathered in hastily arranged meetings in bunkers and conference rooms. Everyone was asking the same question: what could be done against an alien force that didn't even need to land to claim the sky? Across the world, military units went on high alert. Troops stationed near borders looked up at the ships, wondering if they would be called to fight or if they were to simply accept the fate the aliens had set for them. And then something happened that no one expected. A single voice broke through the broadcast. A young woman standing in front of a screen somewhere on Earth, with a defiant look in her eyes, she spoke with clarity and strength. "We never ask for permission." Her voice was heard by millions. Instantly, the words echoed out across the globe like a spark in the dark. A wave of resistance surged in the hearts of humans everywhere. What started as a whisper turned into a rallying cry. People all over the world began to stand up in their own ways, some armed with only their words, others with whatever they could find to fight back the unknown invaders. Across every continent, the spirit of defiance spread from the streets to the highest levels of government. The question no longer was how could they stop the invaders, but how could they ever allow themselves to submit to them? The aliens had underestimated humanity. They had arrived expecting to find a species that would bow to their power, but they had failed to account for one thing: humans never ask for permission, not when it matters most. The voice of defiance echoed through every city, every town, and every home around the world. The words, "We never ask for permission," became the foundation of a movement that spread like wildfire. As governments scrambled to formulate a response, the people had already begun to act for themselves. There was no longer just one voice in the world, but thousands of voices calling for resistance. Humans from all walks of life, whether rich or poor, young or old, began to organize and speak out. In every corner of the Earth, people gathered in secret meetings, in basements, in warehouses, on rooftops, in cities where the air seemed thick with fear. There were whispers of hope, whispered plans, and shared dreams of standing against the alien oppressors. Technology, once thought to be too complex, was hacked and repurposed by minds that had never known the constraints of defeat. Scientists in laboratories, engineers in workshops, students in dorm rooms, all working day and night to reverse engineer the alien technology that had fallen into their hands. Every moment was precious because the aliens had given them no time to waste. As the pressure mounted, the leaders of Earth were forced into a decision that would shape the future of humanity. The United Nations convened in an emergency summit, and for the first time in history, the entire planet seemed to watch as world leaders from every nation gathered in one place. The question that hung over every head was simple: should they surrender to the alien invaders and ensure the survival of their people, or should they fight back, knowing the risk of total destruction. Inside the conference room, the debate was fierce. Some leaders argued that Earth was too weak, too small, compared to the aliens who had so easily made their presence known. Others insisted that any hope of survival required bending to the will of the invaders, an offer of peace that could perhaps allow for the preservation of human life. But across from them were the voices of defiance, the ones who believed that surrender was no option. The military leaders, the thinkers, the survivors. They knew that to give up would be to erase everything humanity had ever fought for. Among those fighting for resistance was Captain James Harris, a decorated war hero, who had witnessed firsthand what it meant to protect the lives of the innocent. He stood before the summit and spoke in a calm but unshakable voice. "We are not just fighting for survival. We are fighting for the soul of humanity," he said, his words cutting through the tension in the room. "We are not slaves. And we never will be. The aliens may have the power to destroy, but they cannot destroy our spirit. We do not kneel to invaders. We rise." The room fell silent for a moment as his words settled in. Even those who had once leaned toward submission felt a shift within them. The idea of surrender, once so plausible, now seemed unthinkable. They were humans, after all, a species who had survived against all odds. From the harshest conditions to the deepest challenges of their own making, could they truly allow another species to dictate their future? Just then, a voice broke through the silence. A voice no one expected. It was the broadcasted message from the aliens once again. But this time, it wasn't a command, it was an ultimatum. "You have 30 hours to comply," the voice rang out, cold and unyielding. "Refuse, and you will be annihilated." The world held its breath as the seconds ticked by with that single announcement. Humanity was left with a choice no one ever thought they would have to make: accept the demands of the aliens and guarantee their survival at the cost of their freedom, or fight with everything they had left, even knowing the cost could be catastrophic. The decision was no longer just in the hands of the leaders. The people had already made their choice, and in the heart of every human, there was a single, undeniable truth. They would fight, because they never asked for permission to exist. The 30 hours given by the aliens passed like an eternity, and as the deadline loomed closer, the world felt like it was on the edge of a precipice. But instead of surrender, something remarkable happened. A fire ignited in the hearts of millions, sparked not by weapons or armies, but by the belief that they had a right to live on their terms, that they had a right to defend their world. In every major city across Earth, crowds gathered to protest the alien presence. At first, the protests were peaceful, a show of solidarity among the citizens of every nation. But as the clock ticked down, the mood shifted. It wasn't enough to stand idly by. The time for talking was over. The people needed to act, and they would act together. The first major act of resistance occurred in Sao Paulo, Brazil. A small group of activists had been organizing in secret for days, and they had a plan. On the eve of the deadline, they sabotaged a key communications tower used by the alien fleet to monitor Earth's movements. With a few homemade explosives and precise coordination, they shut down the tower for several critical hours. The message was clear: Earth was not ready to surrender, and they would not let the invaders control them without a fight. This act of defiance sent ripples around the globe. Other cities followed suit, using every available means to disrupt the aliens' control over Earth's infrastructure. Hackers broke into alien communication networks, turning their own technology against them. At the same time, small resistance cells began to pop up in every major city, operating under the radar to gather intelligence, sabotage enemy resources, and develop countermeasures. In New York City, a group of college students broke into a government facility where a cache of alien technology had been hidden. After the initial invasion, they didn't know exactly what they were looking for, but their leader, a young woman named Sarah, believed the key to defeating the invaders was hidden in those stolen files. They were right. Sarah's group uncovered blueprints for the alien energy shields that protected their ships and a series of weak points in their defensive technology. Armed with this new information, the resistance forces began to formulate a plan. a plan that would need to be executed swiftly and precisely before the aliens could react. Back in the UN summit, the debate had shifted drastically. The once divided leaders now stood united in their decision to fight Earth was no longer simply going to defend itself. They were going to take the fight to the invaders. Military commanders around the world were given the green light to mobilize humanity's forces, and weapons once thought to be obsolete were rapidly retooled with alien tech. The first weapons prototype, a modified electromagnetic cannon, was tested successfully on a captured alien drone. Destroying it in one shot, the Resistance now had a fighting chance. But as the world's forces readied themselves for war, the aliens were not idle. They had underestimated Earth's resolve, and now they were beginning to respond. Their massive ships began deploying more ground forces, alien soldiers in full battle armor, prepared to strike at humanity's heart. The humans had provoked them, and the aliens were not about to let such defiance go unanswered. They had always been conquerors, not negotiators, and now the full force of their army was descending upon Earth's cities. But the humans, united by a common goal and fueled by a burning desire for freedom, had a secret weapon they had never shown the aliens before: their relentless will to survive. In the darkened streets of Paris, a small resistance group launched their own attack on an alien control station using nothing but improvised explosives and sheer determination. It was chaos. But in that chaos, something profound began to happen. The people who had once been fearful of the aliens' might were now beginning to see that they could fight back, and they would fight to the last breath. In every part of the world, the spark of rebellion was spreading, and as it did, it became more than just an act of survival. It became a promise. Humanity would not go quietly into the night. They would stand, and they would take the fight to the stars if necessary, because this world, this home, was theirs, and no one was going to take it from them. The Resistance had come a long way since the first spark of rebellion lit the world on fire. Now, humanity was not just defending against the alien invasion. They were fighting back with a ferocity the invaders hadn't anticipated. Every corner of the globe was alive with action as makeshift armies formed and small groups of civilians turned into soldiers, hackers, engineers, and strategists. The scale of human ingenuity was beyond the aliens' comprehension. In the underground bunkers scattered across the world, scientists and engineers worked around the clock to reverse engineer the alien technology that had fallen into their hands. They started with the simplest pieces: alien drones, energy shields, even a piece of alien armor, and worked tirelessly to understand their inner workings. The first breakthrough came when a team of engineers in Russia managed to hack into an alien drone's control system using knowledge from decades of studying human tech. They modified the drone's software to make it obey human commands in a matter of weeks. These hacked drones became part of humanity's growing arsenal. While the scientists were busy with technology, the military forces were adjusting their tactics. In the past, conventional warfare had been the norm: tanks, planes, and soldiers lined up against one another, following well-understood strategies. In this new war, however, the humans quickly realized that fighting the aliens on their terms would only lead to destruction. The invaders were too powerful, too organized, and too advanced in technology to be confronted head-on without disastrous consequences. Instead, humanity adopted a more unorthodox approach. Guerrilla tactics became the norm as small, agile units attacked alien supply lines, hit-and-run strikes on their patrols, and ambushes in the heart of occupied cities. The aliens had advanced weapons and massive ships, but humanity had something they couldn't replicate: adaptability and an ability to fight dirty. One of the most effective methods was utilizing the very terrain the aliens had come to conquer. Cities built by humans, on land shaped by human hands. Each building, alley, and street became a battlefield, with resistance fighters turning their surroundings into lethal traps. They knew the land better than any invader could, and they used that knowledge to their advantage. In the heart of London, a small group of resistance fighters lured an entire alien patrol into a narrow alley where they had set up a series of hidden explosives. The aliens, confident in their advanced technology, fell right into the trap. The blast sent shockwaves through the alien ranks, and though the humans lost several fighters in the process, the aliens had been thrown off balance. Their superior numbers meant nothing against the chaos the humans could bring when they fought on their own terms. Meanwhile, the hackers were working tirelessly, using stolen alien equipment to build a network of communication systems that bypassed the alien surveillance. The first major success came when a group of hackers in Berlin disabled an alien satellite, cutting off their communication with their fleet in space for several hours. It wasn't a permanent solution, but it was enough to give humanity a fighting chance. It was these small victories that began to add up, fueling the resolve of the people and spreading a sense of unity across the world. Back in Washington, D.C., a team of military leaders had begun to craft a bold strategy. They knew that to defeat the aliens, they would need to strike at their core. At the motherships that hovered ominously above Earth's major cities, the ships were heavily defended, and no conventional weapon could penetrate their shields. But with the data gathered from their stolen technology, humanity was learning how to exploit the weaknesses of these towering warships. The plan was risky, almost too risky, but it was humanity's best shot. The first step involved sending a small team of elite pilots into the heart of the alien fleet, using stealth technology to slip past their defenses and plant explosive charges on the mothership's weak points. It was a desperate move, but the humans knew they had no other choice. The aliens had shown no mercy, and the humans were now prepared to do whatever it took to stop them. As the days turned into weeks, humanity's efforts were beginning to pay off. The resistance had evolved from a scattered group of rebels into a unified force that was taking the fight to the invaders with everything they had. The alien fleet was no longer invincible, and for the first time since their arrival, the invaders found themselves on the defensive. The aliens had underestimated humanity. They had assumed that Earth was a prize to be taken easily, a world of passive people who would surrender at the slightest show of force. But the aliens hadn't accounted for the fire within humanity, a fire that refused to be snuffed out. And now, humanity was ready to strike back on their own terms. As humanity's resistance continued to grow stronger, the aliens began to realize that their conquest of Earth was not going as planned. They had underestimated the spirit of humankind and the sheer willpower of people who would not bow to oppression. But just as things began to look more promising for the humans, an unexpected twist occurred: the arrival of another alien race. It wasn't a large fleet that appeared, but a single ship, sleek and far more advanced than anything the invaders had deployed so far. The ship landed in the remote deserts of Mongolia, far from any major conflict zone, and outside the reach of the aliens who had been fighting for Earth's domination. When the ship opened its hatch, a group of beings emerged, tall, graceful, and bearing no resemblance to the invaders. The world's media quickly spread the news. Earth had new visitors, and they were not enemies. The beings introduced themselves as the Vorelians, a race that had been monitoring Earth for centuries. They explained that they had observed humanity from afar, impressed by Earth's resilience and rapid technological progress. They were not a warlike species, but rather scholars and explorers, and they had seen firsthand the rise of humanity's willpower. In the face of danger, they had come to offer their assistance to the resistance. The news of the Vorelian arrival spread quickly, and skepticism ran high. Humanity had already been deceived once by the aliens, and now, with the threat of annihilation hanging over them, it was hard to know who to trust. But the Vorelians were different. They weren't here to conquer Earth or claim resources. They had no interest in domination. Instead, they offered knowledge and technology that could help humanity fight back against the alien invaders. The Vorelians explained that they had encountered the alien fleet before, many times, and had always managed to defeat them using a combination of strategy and advanced technology. Their warships, while highly advanced, had weaknesses that humanity had not yet discovered, and the Vorelian scientists were confident that they could work together with humanity to exploit these vulnerabilities. After a tense meeting between world leaders and the Vorelian ambassadors, an agreement was made. The Vorelians would share their technology, weapons, and tactical knowledge with the Resistance, in exchange for humanity's promise to protect the planet and its natural resources. They warned, however, that their help would not guarantee an easy victory. The aliens were relentless, and even with the Vorelian assistance, the battle would be hard-fought. The first collaboration between humans and Vorelians took place in a secure facility hidden beneath the Rocky Mountains in the United States. There, engineers from both races worked side by side, sharing data and adapting the alien technology that had been captured by the Resistance. The breakthrough came when a Vorelian scientist unlocked the secrets of the alien energy shields, which had previously seemed impenetrable with Vorelian adjustments. Humanity now had a weapon capable of neutralizing the shields and opening the way for their most daring strikes yet. As the alliance between the Vorelians and humanity grew stronger, the Resistance forces began to focus on their next major objective. The motherships, these massive ships, hovering above the planet, were the heart of the alien fleet. If they could be disabled, the rest of the invaders would lose their command structure, and the Resistance would have a chance to reclaim Earth. In the skies above Europe, the first joint operation between human pilots and Vorelian warriors took place. A squadron of modified Vorelian stealth fighters, equipped with human-made weapons and shielding, launched a surprise attack on one of the motherships. It was a dangerous mission, and no one knew if it would succeed. But the cooperation between the two species was unlike anything the aliens had anticipated. The Vorelian ships, with their advanced cloaking systems, allowed the fighters to slip past the alien defenses undetected, delivering devastating blows to the mothership's power core. As the battle raged on, humanity's fighters were not alone. They were joined by unexpected allies. Former enemies who had now found common ground against a greater foe. Countries that had once been divided by political and ideological differences now stood together as one, united by a singular purpose: to protect their home. And just when the aliens thought they had Earth under control, the unexpected happened. The unity of humankind, bolstered by the support of the Vorelians, proved to be more than the invaders had bargained for. Their hold on Earth was slipping, and they found themselves in a fight they could not win, not against the combined might of a species determined to defend its future. The aliens had come to Earth expecting to conquer, to claim it as their own, but what they hadn't counted on was the strength of a species that had learned to rise against impossible odds. And with the unexpected alliance of the Vorelians, humanity was now more than ever ready to take the fight to the stars. As humanity's fight grew bolder with each passing day, something strange began to happen. The aliens' initial confidence began to erode. It wasn't just the Vorelian alliance or humanity's relentless spirit that caused the cracks in the invaders' empire. It was the fact that the aliens were starting to make mistakes. They were becoming more unpredictable in their tactics, more desperate in their actions, and in their haste, they overlooked a crucial detail: their true motives. In a remote facility deep beneath the mountains of Switzerland, a team of human scientists working alongside their Vorelian counterparts made a startling discovery. They had been analyzing the wreckage of captured alien ships and using their newly adapted technology to crack open alien data caches. The breakthrough came when Dr. Emily Carter, a brilliant physicist and one of the Resistance's leading scientists, uncovered a series of encrypted files hidden within the alien fleet's communication systems. The files weren't just military strategies. They contained something far more disturbing. It turned out that the aliens' invasion of Earth wasn't just a conquest for power or territory, as they had originally claimed. It wasn't even about resources in the traditional sense. The true reason they had come to Earth was far more sinister. They needed the planet itself, or rather, something deep within the planet's core that only Earth had. The aliens had been seeking a rare, unstable energy source buried deep below the Earth's surface, an energy that could power their entire empire and elevate their technology to unimaginable levels. The discovery was a shock to the entire Resistance leadership. Once the truth about the aliens' true intentions spread, a deep anger began to burn in the hearts of the people of Earth. The alien invaders weren't just trying to take Earth. They were preparing to drain it of its very essence, an energy so powerful that it could fuel their destructive empire for millennia. If they succeeded, Earth would be hollowed out, destroyed, and left to die a slow death as the energy was extracted. The Vorilians, who had been monitoring the situation from afar, confirmed the findings. They explained that the alien species invading Earth, the Joreth, were notorious for consuming planets. In this way their empire, once vast and mighty, was now crumbling due to a shortage of resources. The Joreth had drained their own homeworld, and were now in search of new worlds to exploit. The Vorilian historians spoke of a distant past when the Joreth had attempted to do the same to their own planet, nearly wiping out their entire civilization in the process. But the Vorilians had fought back, and their ancient knowledge had allowed them to stop the Joreth before they could destroy the Vorilian homeworld. With the truth now laid bare before them, humanity's resolve to protect their planet grew even stronger. The fight was no longer about defeating an alien force seeking domination. Now, it was about saving the very life of Earth itself. The resistance fighters, armed with this knowledge, redoubled their efforts and began focusing on ways to stop the Joreth from extracting the planet's energy. One of the resistance's top strategists, Captain James Harris, realized that they could not afford to wait for the Joreth to make their next move. He knew the alien forces had been gathering around Earth's most vital energy-producing sites, preparing to drill down into the core. The next step was clear. Humanity had to strike first. The Vorilians provided humanity with their most advanced technology, a series of powerful weapons that could disrupt the Joreth's drilling operations and disable their energy extraction machinery. The plan was to launch a simultaneous strike on the alien drilling platforms across the globe and hit their mothership with a coordinated assault aimed at disabling their energy systems. The resistance fighters, now equipped with this new tech, set out to strike back at the heart of the alien occupation. The first wave of attacks was swift and brutal. They destroyed the drilling rigs before the Joreth could extract a single drop of Earth's precious energy. But even as they celebrated these early successes, the Joreth retaliated with full force. They launched a massive counterattack, sending their soldiers in waves to crush the resistance and take back what they had lost. As the battle intensified across the planet, humanity found itself on the brink of an all-out war for survival. The Joreth were more dangerous than ever, and their desperation was palpable. They had to succeed in extracting Earth's energy, or risk the collapse of their entire empire. But the humans were not about to let that happen without hesitation. They took to the skies and the ground, ready to fight for every inch of their home. What the Joreth had failed to understand was simple. Earth was not just a planet to be exploited. It was home to a species that would not be silenced, a species that would fight until its last breath to protect the world they loved. The aliens had come seeking Earth's core, but they had underestimated the power of humanity's hearts. As the world plunged deeper into the chaos of the alien occupation, humanity's resilience began to take on a new form. It wasn't just about fighting back anymore. It was about rallying the entire planet under one unified banner. The last stand to protect their world from the relentless Joreth invaders. With every battle won, every alien base destroyed, humanity found themselves closer to the core of the invasion, the heart of the Joreth fleet, the motherships that loomed ominously over Earth's cities, their energy-draining operations still ongoing. The coordinated strikes by resistance forces were starting to weaken the Joreth's grip, but the battle was far from over. The invaders were no longer just responding to human attacks. They were pushing forward with their own devastating offensives, retaliating with weapons that could level entire cities in a single blow. As the Joreth unleashed their fury, the people of Earth came together with renewed determination. A sense of urgency hung in the air as the clock ticked down, and each passing moment brought the planet closer to the edge of destruction. Captain James Harris, once a soldier leading resistance forces in small-scale skirmishes, now stood at the forefront of the final push. A tactical genius, he had been working closely with the Vorilian allies to prepare for the ultimate assault on the Joreth's motherships, the heart of their invasion strategy. He knew that the only way to stop the invasion once and for all was to strike at the core of the Joreth's operation, the central command ship, buried deep within the massive fortress ships that hovered above Earth. Harris had been chosen to lead a daring mission, one that would require not just military might, but pure cunning and resolve. He gathered a team of elite soldiers, engineers, and hackers, the best of humanity's fighters and thinkers. They had a plan, but it was one fraught with danger and uncertainty. The Joreth were beginning to reinforce their defenses, and the clock was ticking faster than anyone wanted to admit. The mission was simple in theory: hijack a Joreth warship, infiltrate the mothership's command center, and destroy its energy core. But it was anything but simple in execution. The Joreth had become hypervigilant, and their ships were equipped with defenses beyond anything humanity had encountered before. Yet the humans had something the aliens didn't: a fierce determination that refused to give in, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Sarah, the young hacker who had played a pivotal role in disrupting the Joreth's communication systems earlier in the conflict, worked tirelessly to develop a way to breach the Joreth's outer defenses. She had uncovered a weakness in their communication relay systems, a flaw that allowed a small, well-placed virus to disable their internal systems long enough to slip past their shields. This virus, once deployed, would temporarily shut down their automated defense systems and give humanity's assault team a narrow window to infiltrate the mothership. The mission, dubbed Operation Phoenix, was scheduled to launch at dawn. The team had a narrow window, just 4 hours, before the Joreth would detect the breach and re-establish their defenses. They couldn't afford to fail. Not now, not when the stakes had never been higher. As the first wave of fighters launched into the sky, humanity's resolve was stronger than ever. With each passing minute, the team crept closer to their target. The Joreth's massive ships loomed ahead, their hulking forms casting long shadows over the Earth below. The human assault team, now cloaked by the Vorelian technology, maneuvered their ships around the defenses, using the terrain of Earth's skies to conceal their movements. The resistance fighters fought through wave after wave of alien defense drones, pushing forward with single-minded determination. They knew that the future of Earth depended on this one mission, and failure was not an option. With Sarah's virus deployed and the defenses temporarily disabled, the team made their final approach to the mothership's command center. Time was running out. The assault team stormed the Joreth flagship, moving quickly through its halls, evading patrols and searching for the heart of the ship. The air was thick with tension, each step bringing them closer to the core that powered the Joreth's invasion. But just as they reached the control room, alarms blared, and the ship began to shake. Violent tremors rattled through the walls as the Joreth detected the intrusion. In that moment, Captain Harris knew there was no turning back. The countdown to Earth's survival had begun, and humanity's fate rested in the hands of those brave enough to face the heart of the alien force. It was a final, desperate bid for survival, one that would either break the Joreth's hold on Earth or see humanity lost forever. And as the battle raged on, the people of Earth knew one thing for certain: they would never ask for permission again. The last moments of Operation Phoenix were a blur, a frantic race against time, filled with explosions, chaos, and the unmistakable feeling that the fate of Earth was hanging by a thread. Captain James Harris and his team reached the heart of the Joreth mothership just as the alarms reached their deafening crescendo. They knew they were close, but the path to the energy core was guarded by layers of reinforced security. The Joreth, now fully aware of the breach, were throwing everything they had at the humans, desperate to stop them from reaching their goal. The team pushed forward, weapons raised, but the alien defenses were formidable. Even the Vorelian technology couldn't make them invulnerable to the overwhelming number of alien soldiers that flooded the halls of the mothership. But there was no turning back now, not with Earth's future hanging in the balance. Harris and his team fought through wave after wave of alien troops, each moment filled with the crushing weight of knowing that failure meant the end. Sarah, the hacker, had done her part, deploying the virus that had disabled the ship's automated defenses, but the closer they got to the core, the more difficult it became to keep the systems offline. The Joreth's command center was a labyrinth of corridors, with reinforcements pouring in from every direction. The resistance fighters were outnumbered, outgunned, but not out of heart. "We're almost there," Harris shouted as they pushed forward, rounding a corner to find the massive, pulsating energy core before them. The core was a beast of alien design, surrounded by a glowing barrier of energy shields that buzzed with a menacing hum. It was the lifeblood of the Zoreth invasion, the thing that had given their fleet the power to ravage Earth without mercy. Sarah stepped forward, her fingers flying across the keyboard of the portable terminal she had brought with her, desperately trying to crack the final layer of security. She had hacked into their systems before, but this was different. This was the heart of their operation, and it would take every ounce of her skill to disable the core's protective shields. "Almost there. Just a few more seconds," she muttered, sweat trickling down her face, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. The alien forces were closing in fast, and Harris knew they didn't have much time. He gave a quick signal to the team to set up a defensive perimeter, knowing full well that once the core's defenses were down, they would have no room to maneuver. The countdown had already begun. Finally, with a triumphant beep, Sarah's screen flashed green. "It's done," she yelled, as the energy shields flickered and dropped, leaving the core vulnerable. Without hesitation, Harris and his team rushed forward, planting the explosives around the core's base. With precise movements, the Zoreth soldiers charged, but they were too late. The explosive charges went off, sending shockwaves through the mothership, tearing apart the walls, and sending the invaders into a frenzy. But it wasn't enough to simply disable the core. It had to be destroyed completely. Only then would the Zoreth's grip on Earth be broken once and for all. As the core began to destabilize, Harris made the call, knowing it would be their final act. "Fall back. Now." The team raced to the exit as the entire ship began to tremble, shaking violently from the explosion that had already started the process of annihilating the heart of the Zoreth fleet. The mothership was falling apart, its energy systems overloaded, and there was no escape from the catastrophic chain reaction. In the sky above, the resistance fighters continued to assault the remaining Zoreth ships, picking off their defenses and disabling their fleets with the help of the Vorelians' advanced weaponry. As the first shockwave from the mothership's destruction reverberated across the planet, the remaining alien ships lost their cohesion, their command structure collapsing as the energy source that powered them was wiped out. Earth's skies erupted in a brilliant display of fireworks as the last of the Zoreth ships were torn apart. The battle for Earth was finally over. The world watched in stunned silence as the reality set in. Humanity had won. They had not only survived the invasion, but they had reclaimed their planet from the jaws of destruction. Captain Harris and his team made it back to the surface just as the mothership exploded in a blinding flash of light. The resistance forces, battered but unbroken, stood victorious as the alien threat was eradicated. The Zoreth had been defeated, their empire shattered, and the energy source they had sought so desperately was no longer within their reach. But the cost had been high. Countless lives lost, cities reduced to rubble, and a world forever changed. Yet, in that moment, as the sun began to rise over the horizon, humanity understood that they had fought not just for survival, but for their freedom, their identity, and their right to decide their own future. The victory was a testament to the strength of the human spirit, to the indomitable will that had refused to bow to any invader. And as the world began to rebuild, one thing was clear: humanity would never ask for permission again.